is turning purple and his eyes just roll back in his head. What a beautiful kick by Kazim Ayek. Look at this straight to Mora. My God! My God, what a slam by Mora!
This is the FightBox Podcast with Don Roy.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the FightBox Podcast. The only podcast which encompasses the entire spectrum of combat sports, everything from MMA, kickboxing, and Muay Thai to pro wrestling, sumo, and everything in between. I am your host. My name is Don Royd, and there is reason to celebrate. There is reason to be thankful, reason to look ahead to the new year with optimism. Not only is it the 1 year anniversary of the FightBox Podcast with this episode, but it's also a new year. It is the first episode of 2016. And also, my guest today, Rico Verhoeven, is on the podcast. One of the most dominant kickboxers in the entire world, at least in the heavyweight division. I'll tell you what, there's not a whole lot of people out there that can compete with Rico Verhoeven. Not only that, but 2016 is a bisextile year, which of course means it's a leap year. There will be 29 days in the month of February this year. And I'll tell you what, looking back at 2015, very, very cool year for me. You know, starting with this podcast, 1 full year complete now. I got into podcasts, I don't know, maybe a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And with Colt Cabana and the Art of Wrestling, which is a great podcast I highly recommend. Colt Cabana, I've said it a few times before on the podcast, to me, is sort of like the godfather of podcasting. I had no idea what a podcast even was until I heard the Art of Wrestling with Colt Cabana. And basically, you know, not that hard to figure out. It's just two guys sitting down and shooting the breeze. And talking about whatever they want to talk about. Colt talks about wrestling. Steve Austin has a pretty good podcast. He talks about wrestling, talks about his personal life a lot. I love Jim Ross's podcast, The Ross Report. You know, he talks about his thoughts on the current state of professional wrestling, and all these guys do interviews and things like this. Everybody has a slightly different idea of what their podcast should be like. To be honest, I didn't really know what I wanted my podcast to be like. But I knew that I wanted to interview guests, and I knew that I wanted those guests to be from many different disciplines throughout the world of combat sports, because that is what FightBox is really all about. We show material from kickboxing, from Muay Thai, MMA, pro wrestling, sumo, arm wrestling, wushu, karate, taekwondo, team MMA, anything and everything you can imagine we've got here on FightBox. And that's one of the things that I really wanted the FightBox podcast to be about. I wanted to be able to talk to people from all over the world, from many different kinds of disciplines, and that's something that I managed to accomplish. I talked to, over the past year, guys like John Wayne Parr, one of the most famous Muay Thai fighters in the world. I've talked to guys like Dan Severn, who's in the UFC Hall of Fame. I talked to Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice, who is one of the most well-respected female fighters in the entire world now, and the current UFC women's strawweight champion. I had Sergey Grechijo on the show, a Sambo practitioner, an MMA fighter. I had so many fighters. I actually had fighters. I had kickboxers on the show. I had boxers, Muay Thai fighters, MMA fighters, pro wrestlers, amateur wrestlers, Sambo fighters, catch wrestlers, team MMA fighters. And not only that, I had rock stars on the show. Just last week, Kane Roberts on the show, the first musician, to my knowledge, to ever be on the FightBox podcast. Didn't think that would happen. I've had other commentators, I've had promoters, I've had trainers, I've had referees, and I even had a hypnotist on the show. That was a really cool show. How about that? Episode 36 with Cindy Lasher as a professional hypnotist. In fact, if you ever want to be hypnotized, all you got to do is go back, listen to episode 36, and she hypnotizes me live on the show, and you can listen along and close your eyes as long as you're not in the car driving or something like that, and just get hypnotized right along with me. And so that was a pretty cool episode. I've had famous stars on the show. I've had, amateur fighters. I've had so many different kinds of people. And looking forward to 2016. Starting today, this is the beginning of Season 2. It's year number 2, Season 2, Episode number 1 of the FightBox Podcast. And, I was wondering if this show should be like a best of episode where we kind of review some of the best moments from the FightBox Podcast over the past year, or if it should be just another episode with a guest on and an interview and things like that. I decided to go with the normal format because that's one of the things that I really wanted to do. It's like some podcasts you listen to, it seems like every couple weeks or so there's a lack of content, and so they just replay previous episodes, or they make a best of episode or something like that. That's one of the things I really wanted to do when I got into this thing, was just have a fresh episode each and every week with a new guest, and always have a new guest each and every week. Now, there may come a time in the future where it's just not possible. Maybe I'll be in the hospital, or maybe I'll be sick, or maybe I'll be on vacation, or I'll be out of the country, and I won't be able to produce an episode. Who knows? But it is my goal for 2016 to always have a new guest each and every week. And as you know, if you are a loyal follower of the FightBox Podcast, each and every Wednesday at 7 o'clock a.m. Central European Time. That would be about 6 o'clock if you're in the UK, and maybe back 2 o'clock, I think, if in the morning if you're on the day on the Wednesday, if you're in the East Coast of the United States. So looking for, when I did this podcast, another thing is I'm kind of transitioning for the past year or so, or a year and a half. Even further back, if you look into it, of getting out of professional wrestling and getting more active as a commentator, as a journalist, as a podcast host in the world of fighting sports. So this podcast has been a good creative outlet for me as well, too, as I continue to transition from active in-ring fighting to out of the ring and behind the microphone. And was a good thing. Had so many cool guests on the show. Podcasts work kind of weird because I pictured this podcast, I guess, a little bit like Colt Cabana's, where I would just be talking to my friends, talking to people that I know about fighting sports and things like that. But it's super weird how it actually turned out. It's like some people that I knew, that I was friends with, that I thought I was friends with, that I was close with, asked them to be on the show, asked them to talk, and they didn't want to do it. They just, they blew me off, or they never answered me back, or they just said they didn't want to be on the show. And, other people who I had never met before in my life were super willing and super open to being on the show. So it's a really weird thing. You never know what kind of reaction you're going to get when you ask somebody to be on the show. It's super weird. Sometimes people just no-sell you, and they'll never answer your email or your phone call back. Other people will just BS you the whole time, saying, oh yeah, we'll do it this week or next week or the following week. Oh, when that week comes around, something comes up, and then, oh, can we do it next week? Yeah, no problem. And then next week comes around, they still can't do it. And I get that people are busy or whatever, but other people are just full of shit. Other people just want to do it right on the spot. Like with that first episode, episode number 1 that I recorded with Dan the Beast Severn. I contacted him on Facebook, asked him if he wanted to do the show, and he said, yeah, sure, you can go ahead and just call me. I'm in my hotel room right now in the Philippines, and let's do it. And I was like, okay. And so I just called him, and we just did it right there on the fly. Other people put it off forever. Like, I've contacted people about it, and then I didn't get a response until 6 months later, when I even completely forgot about it. And they're like, yeah, I'm ready now, let's do it. Other people are just a-holes about it and just say, whatever, F you and the F off or whatever. And then sometimes people want to do it, but they just can't with the way that our schedules are, it's just not possible to work it out. A lot of these people I'm interviewing are in America, or they're in Asia somewhere. They're completely different time zones. I've done podcasts at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've done podcasts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and every hour in between. I've done them on the phone. I've done them face to face. I've done them on Skype, and had some pretty rough beginnings figuring out how to record these things in a high enough quality format. I do all of the editing myself, and I do all of the production myself. There are no sponsors here on the FightBox podcast. If you are interested, if you are a sponsor out there, you can contact me, daniel.austin@spintl.com, or you can contact me on Facebook at Real Don Royd, on Twitter at DonRoydDW, and contact me that way. So that being said, I really think that 2016 is going to be a good year. I'm excited to have Rico Verhoeven on the show today, and I'm going to stop patting myself on the back, stop all the self-adoration, and we're just going to go ahead and get into the interview with Rico Verhoeven, the current and reigning Glory Kickboxing World Champion, right now. All right, so let's start here with maybe some current topics. Yeah. You fought Benjamin Adegbuyi for the second time, and the second fight really didn't last all that long. Was there something between after the first fight and to the second one? Was there something that you learned from the first fight, or that you did differently, that helped you get that win so quickly at Glory 26?
No, I don't think so. For me, it was just, the first fight. It was just, he started off a lot with a lot higher pace. So for me, I was like, okay, so I had to keep that pace. I had to keep coming with him, and I was pressuring him in the first round, and walking onto the jab a few times, and maybe let him score a little bit more in the first round. But because I did that, he got tired, because he isn't used to fighting that high of a pace. And with me pressuring him, he was like, now I need to fire shots. And that got him tired pretty quick. So for that, I just threw my combinations throughout the whole fight. And it lasted for 5 rounds. And I think, I think in the first fight as well, I hurt my leg somewhere in the fight, I think in the 3rd round. So throwing low kicks was getting harder as well, even though I hurt his legs really bad. So that was just, it was a good win for me. After the first round, I dominated every round. And and I said it in interviews before that fight as well. It was just too early for him, and it was the same now. It was just too early. And from every fight I grow mentally, and I'm still young. I'm just 26, so I'm still in my development mode. I get better every fight. So I trained a lot with Tyson Fury for this fight, with the heavyweight champion in the boxing. So for me, it was it was good. I was confident, and especially for my home crowd. So and I wasn't looking for the knockout, even that last straight right. It wasn't for me. It wasn't like, now I'm gonna knock you out. I just want to hit him with a clean shot, and it was clean enough to put him down.
Yeah. You mentioned that you were training with Tyson Fury. How did that whole situation come about?
Well, Tyson and I, we've been knowing each other now for, I think, about 4 years, 3-4 years, and he was training in Belgium, and I live close to the Belgian border, and we heard he was looking for sparring, and he did a lot of sparring with kickboxers as well, but like like a lot of guys he was sparring with, they only sparred like once and then it was finished because his level of boxing was crazy. It was a crazy big difference between the kickboxers. So yeah, we met and we're like, yeah, let's do a sparring, and then let's see what happens. So yeah, I did a sparring. He closed both my eyes with wearing a head guard. It was yeah, it was
Oh wow.
yeah, it was crazy. So for me it was like, hey, I can learn from this guy. This his level of boxing is so much higher than mine, and if I can get closer with my level and use that in kickboxing, phew, I'm gonna make a huge difference. And yeah, so that's what we did, and yeah, the Team Fury, they appreciated my input for sparring, every time coming back, even though, yeah, getting a lot of punishment, especially in the beginning. And at a certain point, I was training with Gita as well, and he was coming to the sparring, and yeah, it was crazy. He did just me and Gita back to back. Every round, like for 10, 12 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the best kickboxers back then. He just took it easy. It was easy for him. So and yeah, so after that, Gita just stopped coming to sparring every time 1 hour, 2 hours before. He canceled training. So I had to do like 10 or 12 by myself. So that was pretty intense. It was heavy, but yeah, it that made my level of boxing grow so fast, and yeah, and they appreciate me so much more for that. And then they started helping me with pad training and giving me tips and feedback on my boxing skills. And yeah, since then we just stayed in contact.
Yeah, it's what did you think about the Klitschko Fury fight?
Yeah, it was smart. He was just the Tyson I know from sparring. Just what he does during sparring, he did in the ring. So he was feeling comfortable.
Is he talking trash to you too when you're
No, of
sparring?
course not. Of course not. He respects me. It was and yeah, of course sometimes he does some crazy stuff, but that's just him. It's not with bad intentions. It's just playing around and having fun. And he respects me as a world champ because he knows when I give him a leg kick, he can't walk for a few weeks. So,
Right.
that's it's just two different sports, and we respect each other, and we're just both two professional fighters. We're both champions, so yeah, it's perfect.
Is that what kind of inspired you to take this boxing match up a while ago? Was the training with him or?
Yeah, it was just a combination of things. For me, in kickboxing now, I fought everybody. I've beaten everybody, and I'm always looking for new stuff and things that push me and get me to the next level as well. So I want to keep evolving, keep getting better, and I just love martial art. Either it's boxing or kickboxing or MMA, I just love to do it. So yeah, I just wanted to try it, and it was fun.
So are you saying you're maybe getting a little bit bored with kickboxing or?
Yeah, it's not bored, but there's no real challenge. Of course, every time there's a new challenger for the belt, there's a challenge. But like, who am I gonna fight now? You know, I don't know. I don't have a clue. And or else you're gonna see maybe another Benny Rico or another Errol Rico or maybe a Hesty or whatever. Everybody saw those fights. Those fights, they already took place. For 2 or 3 times. So I think that's the problem we have in kickboxing now. That the competition got a lot smaller than like years ago. So
Yeah, it seems like just as you were, coming up the ladder and getting some big wins, it seems like most of those other guys, were kind of dropping off,
yeah,
like Bonyansky and Arts and
yeah,
Schilt and everything like that. But you did get a chance to fight some of those guys.
yeah.
So, um, Yeah, that's a good question. Is who's next for you? Because I don't know what's up with Badahari. He's maybe gonna have some problems, and just looking at the heavyweight division in Glory, you've got Adek Bowie ranked number 1 somehow still. You've got Wilness at number 2, Brestovac at number 3, Ben Edwards at 4. Is there anybody in the top 10 in Glory? Who do you think is the most dangerous heavyweight in Glory right now?
I think Wilness, because he's a good fighter. He has a big heart, and he trains really hard. We've trained a lot together. We sparred many times, and even though you saw him fight with Adek Bowie, and I thought that fight was really close. I even thought Wilness won that fight. So yeah, for me, I think he's a really good fighter. But still, I'm on a different level of all the top 10 guys. I'm just on a different level, and I can get beaten, but then I would be having a really bad day or whatever, and I try to avoid that as much as possible. I just make sure I prepare 100% every time, and stay focused.
Yeah, has there been any talks yet, or about what's going to happen, or who you're going to be fighting, or when you're going to be fighting?
No, nothing. I'm in a good place right now. A lot of stuff is happening. So I did an audition for a huge Hollywood movie. So waiting on that. Just waiting for the cast to let me know if I'm in or not, and. Some other big stuff is gonna happen, in the upcoming few weeks. So, a lot of news is coming out.
So, I was talking with Ali El-Azabi of Kunlun Fight a couple of weeks ago, and he said that if he could recommend like one of the most entertaining fights of the year, he said it would probably be your fight. With Andrei Gerashimchuk. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, that fight was, for me, wasn't the right moment to take a fight like that, and of course he probably just says that to hype the organization, because he beat me, and I'm not taking anything away from him because he beat me fair and square, but. That fight just wasn't the right moment for me to take that fight, but because there was a lot of things going on. My wife was pregnant. I was in China. She had to go to the hospital like 2 days after I got back. She we had the baby, so so many things going on, and also next to kickboxing, just so many stuff going on. Acting and stuff like that, taking too much time next to training. So for me, it wasn't the right moment to take that fight, but I took it, and I lost fair and square. But I think I settled that, with beating Errol, and after that beating Adek Bowie, and now again. So for me, there isn't really a feeling of I want a rematch or whatever. If that rematch comes, it comes, and if it doesn't come, it's okay with me, man. It's I'm not angry or whatever. Yeah, I'm angry at myself that I took that fight, but next to that, for me, that's it. In a shape that I am now, in the focus and fitness, there's no way in whatever thing, he can beat me. No way.
What actually happened at the end of that second round? Because you went down twice, but it was like in the first knockdown, I couldn't really tell what happened.
Yeah, the first one was he threw a spinning back fist, and that was a clean shot. It was right on the chin, so that was a clean shot. But the second count was bullshit.
Yeah.
He just but that referee, he was he's also the matchmaker, and he also has like management stuff over Andre and things going on. So for him it was perfect, of course. So when he saw me fall to the ground, he just thought, I'm gonna count him again. you know, and too long of a clinch. But you know, in the end, all those stuff shouldn't matter. You know, on a normal day I would beat him easy, but you know, it wasn't my day, so yeah, this is what happened, and this is what I said. You know, I'm not taking anything away from Andre because that day he was just better, and yeah, you know, I feel like I have to be punished for that, you know, and this was my punishment because
Right.
if I win a fight like this, fighting that bad, then you don't learn anything. You know, you have to lose fights like that because then you get frustrated and you get better the next time and you make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, because when you get knocked down twice like that, I mean, unless you knock him out, the fight's pretty much over.
Yeah.
What were you thinking going into round number 3? Just, I got to knock this guy out, or what was the game plan?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I had to knock him out, but like I said, you know, my body, everything was rejecting everything I wanted to do. So I was just feeling tired, and like I was there for a whole week, and the whole week I was in a fucked up jet lag. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was in my hotel room all day, and I was just too slow, and you know, I was just like a walking zombie. So it wasn't good for me because I was every night I was awake from like 3 in the night till 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning.
Yeah, has there been any talks about going back and having another fight in Kunlun?
No, not really.
Is that because you're contracted like strictly to Glory now, or?
No. I can do whatever I want.
Oh, okay. But you just don't want to go back there, or?
No, yeah, you know, it should be really interesting for me going back there, but for now it's not interesting enough. You know, I'm doing so many different stuff now and focusing on different things. So for me, there's no point in going back there right now.
Yeah, one of the big announcements that Glory made recently was that Gokhan Saki is going to be returning, and I believe he's going to be fighting in light heavyweight.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you have any unfinished business with him?
No, not really. I beat him fair and square, and I told him the 8 countdown wasn't fair, but even without the 8 countdown, he would lose the fight. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, because he would be, I guess, one of the most interesting fights that people would want to see, as far as a challenger for your belt. But if he's going to be fighting in the light heavyweight division, then I would think that fight's not going to happen.
No, don't think so either. But even though, you know, it's back then I beat him when I still wasn't on the level that I am today. So, you know, I think he's a really good fighter, but I figured his style out. You know, I know how he fights, and yeah, for me, there's just if you have two fighters with almost the same quality, and the other one is bigger and heavier, there's no way in hell that the smaller guy wins. Of course, it happens, but if they fight 10 times, the big guy wins probably like 8 or 9 times.
Yeah.
Because that's nature, you know. It's just the bigger. If the level is the same, the bigger guy must win.
Yeah, have you always been like a really big guy, like growing up? Were you always like the biggest kid in your class
Yeah,
in school and stuff like that?
definitely. I always been huge, but then when around the age of 18, 19, started doing some more fitness and getting leaner and fitter and stronger as well.
Mm-hmm. You said that you're always growing and evolving as a fighter and things. I know that you train with your dad and stuff. What can you tell us about your dad and his background and things like that?
He came from Kyokushin karate, and he did a lot of matches back in the days, and yeah, at a certain point when I was really young, he got injured pretty bad on his leg, so we had to stop. He had to stop fighting, had to stop competing for a year, but for about a year, and so he to recover he did some fitness and started boxing, And then after that, when he recovered, started kickboxing, and then people start asking me like, why don't you teach? And then he was like, yeah, why not? And yeah, from that moment on, he brought me to the gym. So, and that was around the age of 6. So, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah. And did your dad, like, did he train with any of those old school Dutch guys, or?
No, no. Just because we're living pretty far down south, and yeah, every like a lot of gyms were pretty not far drive, but they were a pretty good drive. So for him, it was yeah, there's no point, when he started teaching, he stopped fighting, and he just focused on teaching and having fun with that.
So did you ever get into the Kyokushin yourself, or was it always kickboxing for you?
No, it always been kickboxing, but of course my father taught kickboxing with his experience from the Kyokushin. So there was of course there were like small factors of Kyokushin always in his way of teaching. So that's why, for a big guy, I can kick pretty easy, and you know just stuff like that, and his discipline and his vision of always keep going. That's really the from the Kyokushin part.
Is it ever weird to train with your dad? Because, like, everybody kind of goes through like a rebellion kind of a phase, and like, I don't want to listen to my dad and stuff like that. Or like, how is it training with your dad? Is there any kind of like how is the relationship? How do you balance it between, he's training a world champion, but he's also your dad, at the same
But
time.
now
So
we've been, my dad got sick a few years ago, so we haven't been training too much anymore. But now he's just involved as my dad, and we've been training. But yeah, like like a lot of guys say, at a certain point, I feel like I outgrew him. I think
yeah.
like I know more about kickboxing than him. And and I was his first world champion, of course, and really good fighter. Of course, he helped some guys, but just like to B and C class, But I was his first big fighter, so that's why we went to the Super Pro gym and got involved with Dennis Carwell as well. Because he's been there for years. He's been helping Lloyd Van Dam. He's been helping Albert Kraus. So he was used to the world level pressure.
Yeah. So, back in the day, you had a chance to fight for K1 when it was still, red hot, and before things kind of, took a different direction. How could you describe what it was like to fight in K1 back then?
Yeah, for me that was of course the first dream coming true, because when I was younger, I saw Peter Art become champion, and I was like, hey, I want this. This is cool. This would be crazy if I would ever become a K1 fighter or either a K1 champion. So yeah, when I was 18 and I fought for the first time in K1 Hawaii, and I think Hawaii was the most beautiful place where K1 took place. And for me, that was like, so this is crazy. All those people going crazy, and the attention and stuff like that. So yeah, that was amazing. That was I think the best experience I had.
Yeah, you said, like, you grew up admiring Peter Arts and things like that, and then you actually had a chance to step in the ring and fight him. Was there any kind of like a weird like idol thing going on, or like, how was it to be in the ring with a guy that you grew up watching, saying like, I want to be like that guy, and now you're face to face with him and he's trying to punch you in the face?
Yeah, that was crazy. That was really crazy. Because for me, Peter Arts, it's Peter Arts, it's just he's a living legend in our sport. So yeah, that was definitely it was definitely difficult, but yeah, then I tried to get back to the base and think of, he's in front of me, so he's in front of my dream, and he has to get out of the way. I have to take care of my family, and with fighting, that's what I make my money with. So, if he's in the way, he needs to step aside.
Yeah, I know. I was like, even though pro wrestling's like much different than kickboxing, is I had a chance to fight like a few of the guys that I grew up, watching on TV, and it's like when I'm watching the guy walk down to the ring, it's like, whoa, it's kind of like this, like fanboy moment. But then, once the bell rings, it's time to do the business, and all of that kind of goes out the window.
Ja, hey, one second. Oké, ga mama eens roepen. Zeg eens dat oma er straks is. Ja? Yeah, back. Was my daughter.
That's your little daughter?
Yeah, was my daughter.
Yeah, you said like in China, like your wife was pregnant. She was ready to give birth. Yeah.
Yeah. She was definitely ready to give birth.
That was crazy. Were you actually? Did you have a chance to actually be there for it, or did you miss it?
No, I was there, but like I said, it was 2 days after I got back. She gave birth to the baby. So.
Yeah, you have 2 girls, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, are you gonna try for a boy still, or?
I'm not sure. At the moment, I think I'm finished because those. Yeah, waking up in the middle of the night still.
Oh boy.
The smallest one is now almost a year. Beginning of January, she will be a year. So, for that is just so tough. And
yeah.
Of course, my wife tries to do it as much as possible, but I try to help her as well. So, and that's where sometimes I think this is great, this is heavy, man. So, and then like my oldest is now 4.5, so then you can tell her to eat her sandwich and do stuff by herself, but now this baby she can't do anything, so like you're tied again a little bit, you have to help her with everything, and I was just getting used to being free again, and now you're getting tied again, so it's difficult, but in the end, they're your babies and you love them.
Yeah, after you get out of that bottles and diapers phase, then it gets a little bit easier.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
So when you went to K1 and stuff like that, and it's early in your career, what do you think was your first big test as a fighter?
What must be my first big test?
Like the first time when you thought like, oh boy, like, this is going to be, a test for me. It's going to be a hard fight. I got to really make sure that I'm, double prepared for this one.
I wasn't really feeling that, but I remember I was in a qualification tournament in Japan for K1, and people. I was still young. I was like 19, I think, 19 or 20. And people were saying like, "Oh, he's the new Peter Arts." He was the new Peter Arts, and I was fighting Brisky Don or something. And that fight was so bad that because I put so much pressure on myself, I was like, I have to put up a good fight. They think I'm the new Peter Arts. Let's go. I need to do this. So by saying that to myself, I gave myself so much pressure that I just forgot everything I trained for. And I was so tense, and after that, and I was on the same card. Peter was fighting there as well. Melvin was fighting there. So after that I was like, hey, I have to relax more, and then Melvin also had a good talk with him. He said, you're enjoying this, right? You enjoy fighting, you enjoy stepping in the ring, so just enjoy yourself, forget all the pressure, forget all the people, just enjoy yourself. I was like, yeah, he's right. This is what I love to do, and why am I putting so much pressure on myself?
Yeah, sometimes things can happen like that. Was there something with the last fight with Errol Zimmerman? Because you seemed like really aggressive in that fight. Normally, you're very calm. It's you seem like a chess player in there, but
Yeah.
this was like really aggressive fight. Was it due to the trash talking, or was it because it was a rubber match and you wanted to make a point, or was it something else?
No, I think it
Um,
was a little bit about the trash talk. He said a lot, and yeah, you try not uh, that it gets a hold of you, but yeah, in the end, in the back of your head, it does a little bit. So, and then he's like, oh, he never knocks anybody out, and this and that, and blah blah blah, and I'm gonna make him cry and stuff like that. So, okay, I was like, okay, let's see, let's see what you got. And yeah, the funny thing was, I started off like crazy, and I rocked him 2 times, and I got back in the corner and got slapped again by my trainer. He was like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because yeah, like you said, that's my game. I like to play chess and yeah, try to outplay my opponent. And yeah, that's what I normally do. But in that fight, I definitely didn't do that. So of course it was entertaining for the people, but for me, I make it a 50-50 fight, and yeah, that's not the smartest thing to do. And I like to make it like a 80-20 or 90-10.
Yeah, like after the match, you said that you'd want to get in the ring with him and fight again. But it seems like he's way down there in the rankings now. You think that fight's ever going to happen again, or do you still want it to happen again?
No, I think for me, I made the point clear that I beat him twice, and of course, with his knee injury, it was really bad for him. But in the end, I think it was maybe better for him, for his pride, because I was definitely gonna knock him out in that fight. So he definitely wasn't gonna last 5 rounds. So
Yeah.
this was a good way for him to get out of that fight, and maybe not. It's not maybe not the right way to say it, but in the end, now he can say, yeah, oh, because of my knee and stuff like that. But everybody saw that fight. He I just dominated every second of that fight. So I think people saw that fight, and for me, there's no really too much use of fighting him again.
Hmm. What about the fight with Gita? Because he seems to have fallen off the map after that fight, the last one with you. Do you know anything about what's going on with him? Because you mentioned that you were at one time kind of close to him, and you were training with Tyson Fury and stuff like that. You heard anything from Daniel Gita lately?
No, no, and I don't even bother. He's just he's a bad person, bad heart. It's just he talked so much trash and talked so much shit about me. Bullshit, that I'm really like, this. I don't really care. I beat him twice, and yeah, that's all that matters for me. He was a really talented fighter, but in the end, yeah, when the dust settled, it was, he didn't have the heart to really bite into wanted to win. If you want to win, you can. But if you feel like your conditioning or your body is rejecting and is just not feeling right, and then that's the moment when you have to keep fighting, and that's where he gives up. So in the end, he wasn't worthy of being a champion.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like after you won the championship and stuff like that. You got the big oversized check and things like this. You said that you wanted to be an example for children and things like that. Do you think you've achieved that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm a good role model to see that if you don't have to be from the streets to be a fighter, or you don't have to have a bad youth to become a good fighter, and you don't have to be a brawler to be a champion. I think I brought a whole new level and way of fighting to the top of kickboxing. So I think that's a really important thing that people can see now. Like of course Peter Arts, he was a really good fighter, but he was definitely a fighter. He just jumped in and he gave, got back, gave, got back. It was just off and on, and I just try to to avoid that. I try to hit, but then step to the side so I don't get hit and hit again. Like Mayweather.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people think that because your style is kind of, becoming more popular now. Do you think that this is it? That this is kind of like the end of the brawler era, so to speak, for the heavyweights?
No, don't think so because there will always be brawlers and strong guys that have a good punch. But in the end, you have to fight with your brain. You don't have to fight with your power or with your muscles. So
Yeah.
if you combine those things with hard punches and using brains, then then you can make a difference.
Mm. Well, from what I've seen from you, I think that you've got a really good inside low kick, and you've got some other good shots. What do you think is your best technique or your best strikes that you have?
Mm, I like the front kick
Mm-hmm.
because if you can implement that in your game in the right way, you can really make your opponent tired. And when he gets tired, just he started making mistakes. That's when he starts making mistakes, you can start hitting him better and cleaner and stuff like that. So I think that's really an important thing in my game: the low kicks and the front kicks.
Yeah, so a lot of people are wondering now what's going to be going on with Glory in 2016. Have you heard anything about any shows coming up, where they're going to be, if they're going to be in Europe or if they're going to be more in America, or what's going on with them?
No, no, I haven't got a clue. For me, it's actually also I'm so busy with doing different things that I'm not really thinking about that. I have the people around me, worrying about that and trying to make sure I get fights and arranging stuff like that. So it's their job to do that, and for me, I just make sure I stay fit, I stay busy, and keep performing well. And that's what I do. And I've been enjoying this MMA game as well. So maybe doing another MMA fight, and this movie part, this big movie thing is going on. So just so many things going on. So I'm not really busy with, oh, who am I fighting next, and when is my next glory fight is going to be. I'm just enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, that's what the fans want to know, right? So
Yeah, of
I'm
course, of course.
obliged to ask it. But yeah, but one thing that pops into my mind when you say that is Ronda Rousey, because she was, the most dominant female ever, or so far, in the UFC, and a lot of people are speculating that maybe the reason why she got knocked out was because she was being pulled in too many different directions. She was doing movies, she's doing commercials, she's making all these appearances everywhere, she's on TV, and maybe if she had spent more time in the gym working on her technique, that she could have overcame Holly Holm. Are you at all thinking about that? That of course, you're young, you're in the prime of your life, you're a good-looking kid, and if somebody offered me a role in a major Hollywood picture, I wouldn't think about it either. But are you? Does it worry you at all that maybe that these things could be distractions?
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I don't really think Rana didn't spend enough time in the gym. I just think her mind wasn't at the right place.
Right.
So that's what I think is really important, that you focus on one thing at a time. Even though that's really difficult, but you have to focus on fighting when you have a fight, and so that's what I try to do, to talked about with the management, and with the people around me. When I have a fight, I focus on that, and that's most important. And when I have a movie, I focus on that. Then I don't have to then it's important that I don't have a fight like coming up in the next 2 months or stuff like that, because I have to focus on my fight, and that's what I do. That's what makes me an elite fighter, is that I focus on a fight 100%, and that's so important, because it's not a game. It is a game of chess, but this is, you can get hurt really bad if you mess it up. So it's important. It's just a normal game of chess. This is the real deal. So you have to focus and make sure your head is in the right place.
Yeah, and you mentioned like the MMA and stuff like this. How big are your aspirations in MMA? Is it something that you just are doing on the side right now, or do you have bigger aspirations to maybe go to one of the bigger federations like a Bellator or a UFC?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to get the taste of what it is, and how am I, if I'm even capable of doing different stuff. I fought in MMA and I've enjoyed it. It was a short fight, but I wanna get some more experience in that as well.
Cool. How much time are you dedicating to training other aspects of your game besides kickboxing?
Yeah, it depends. Like I said, I like MMA, so I try to do that a little bit more. A little bit the wrestling and the grappling and the jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So when I don't have a kickboxing match, I focus on it a little bit more, because then I have the time. And yeah, the boxing, it just it just comes natural. It's like sometimes I just say like, hey, next week or in a few weeks I'm gonna go to Manchester to train with Tyson Fury. So for me, yeah, it's good. I just enjoy myself, and I just do what I feel like. Like when I feel like, hey, now I want to work on some boxing, I go to Manchester and work on boxing. And like now I want to work on wrestling or jiu-jitsu or stuff like that. I'm just focusing on that. My schedule is it's pretty flexible in those things.
Cool. Yeah, so we're going to wrap things up here. What are your goals in 2016? What do you want to accomplish this year?
Stay healthy. Make sure I put up good fights. Try to entertain the people as much as possible. Stay champion. And I hope to get this big role in this Hollywood movie. That's for the beginning of working on what I'm gonna do after fighting. So I think that's pretty important as well. So I think that's a pretty good list to work on.
Yeah, definitely. And any message to your fans out there?
Of course. I love you guys to death. It's just you've been supporting me from the beginning, and showing me love, and always sending me messages, and I just appreciate you guys so much, because without you guys, I wasn't even possible of doing this, because you guys being there on in the arena, or being behind the computer watching the live stream, that just always gives me the motivation to keep putting up good fights. So like I said, I love you guys. I hope you had a good Christmas and a happy New Year.
All right. Anything else you want to get in here? You want to thank anybody or talk about anything?
No, I think I'm good. Everybody that like my team, I'm so thankful for them, but they already know that, because I said it 100 times. So, and for the family, for them, I think it's even harder, because they're around me 24/7, and when I'm close to a fight, I'm just not a fun guy to be around. So for them it's really heavy. They really have to endure some crazy stuff when I'm in preparation. But in the end, now I have the time to relax. We do a lot of fun stuff. I go out with the kids, and yeah, just enjoying life.
Cool. All right. So if people want to connect with you on social media, are you out there on Facebook and on Twitter
Yeah,
and
of course,
Instagram
I
and
have
stuff like that?
everything. I got everything. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I try to respond to as much messages as possible. It's not always that easy, but I always try to respond personally. You can check my website, ricoverhoeven.com. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. There's some merchandise coming in early 2016. So stay tuned for that, and a lot of more big news coming up.
All right, Rico. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time for the interview, and all the best of luck in 2016. Happy New Year.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and yeah, Happy New Year, man.
All right, so how about that? Rico Verhoeven, current Glory heavyweight world champion in kickboxing, right here on the FightBox Podcast. Very interesting perspective from Verhoeven. I wonder what his future is going to hold, and I wonder what his big announcements are coming up in the near future. It's too bad I didn't interview him a few weeks later, so when he's ready to make these big announcements. But I would expect that it's going to be something about his next fight. And I'm speculating that perhaps he does know who he's going to be fighting, but is not allowed to announce that yet. But would be interesting to see where he's going to fight. He said he's not under contract to Glory exclusively, so he could be fighting in other promotions. He could be taking an MMA fight again, could be taking another boxing match. He does have this some kind of a partnership going on with Tyson Fury. So will be interesting to see where his next fight is going to be, and if he gets this role in this Hollywood movie that he was talking about. This is big. This is what kickboxing needs. They need a star to take it to the next level. Kickboxing right now, in my opinion, is nowhere close to the popularity of MMA or professional wrestling. I think maybe it falls a third or maybe even a fourth in the most popular combat sports in the world, unfortunately. Because for me, right now, since I'm kind of getting away from professional wrestling, I would say I most enjoy watching kickboxing right now. Other than professional wrestling, the two combat sports that I like personally the most are kickboxing and sumo. And I think that, just like Ronda Rousey did with mixed martial arts, just like Mike Tyson did with boxing, these were guys, just like Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper did with professional wrestling. Kickboxing needs a star. They need somebody that can transcend the world, the little bubble of kickboxing that all the fighters and fans live in, and extend past that and find some kind of common ground with popular culture. And that's what kickboxing needs to really take it to the next level. That and a federation which gets really, really hot. Maybe Glory is the federation to do that. Maybe Kunlun Fight is the federation to do that. Maybe Super Combat or King of Kings is the federation to do that. I don't know, but one of those promotions needs to really step up internationally, get really hot, really popular, and at the same time, they need a big superstar, an international superstar who's not just known for being a kickboxer, but is also known just in pop culture for being famous. And that is not an easy task to accomplish, ladies and gentlemen. But should somebody like Rico Verhoeven, young, good-looking kid, very talented, dominant, who could perhaps get a foothold in the entertainment business, in the movie business, or in the TV business, or something like that, that is what would propel the popularity of kickboxing to a whole nother level. One thing I did want to touch on before we get out of here was the Ryzen MMA and mixed martial arts and kickboxing and shootboxing and all. Basically, it was a freak fight. It was a free-for-all of freak fighting on New Year's Eve. One of the matches that I was most looking forward to was Baruto against Peter Arts. Now, Baruto is a sumo wrestler. He did very, very well in his career. He made it all the way up to the second highest rank in the sport of Ozeki. And that's pretty damn good for a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy from Estonia. And he was supposed to make his MMA debut against Jerome Labaner, who's not that successful in MMA, but in kickboxing, this guy is a legend. It was my prediction that Baruto would get knocked out, or at least he would get a ground and pound, and that's how it would end, something like that. But Baruto surprised me. He did really well. He did fantastic in his matchup against Peter Arts, who's probably considered even better than Jerome Labaner by a lot of people. Definitely a K1 legend and one of the best kickboxers of all time. Peter Arts took the fight on very short notice, so maybe that had something to do with it. Or maybe it had something to do with the fact that Peter Arts is not that skilled on the ground. Baruto is just huge. He's a massive, massive individual. Had a huge weight advantage. He used his sumo skills, just as I predicted, to grab the guy, run him across the ring, and take him to the ground. And that's where Baruto controlled most of the fight, and he got his hand raised. Was also very interested in seeing Lady Tappa, a professional wrestler. I believe she is the niece of the Barbarian, legendary professional wrestler, and she got beat by Gabby Garcia. That was a really back-and-forth matchup. She actually floored Gabby Garcia and almost knocked her out right in the beginning of the match, but then Garcia composed herself and came back and took out Lady Tappa for the win. So not very good news for the world of professional wrestling, but Rena, who I believe does professional fighting and pro wrestling, defeated Yelena Valentino, who I believe Valentino trains on the same team with Petrosian. I'm not sure, but I think she's managed by Carlo de Blasi and is on the Petrosian team. So she lost her match with an incredible flying armbar by Rena, and that was a great fight. Another one I was looking forward to, Andy Sauer defeated Yuichiro Nagashima in his professional MMA debut, and looked very, very strong in that one. I think that Andy Sauer, he could have success in MMA if he chooses to do so. As obviously has to work on his ground game a little bit, but his kickboxing skills looked very sharp in there with those little 4-ounce gloves. So very, very dominant showing by Sauer. And of course, Emelianenko defeated Jaydeep Singh pretty easily. And evidently, Fedor has said that he's going to keep fighting. This was not just a one-off fight. Maybe he has signed a multi-year deal or a multi-fight deal with the Ryzen promotion. I don't know. But I heard that he's going to be fighting again in March, perhaps, or April, for Ryzen. So Ryzen is, I guess, is here to stay, and they're going to try to make their name with Fedor Emelianenko on the marquee. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And we'll also have to keep an eye on future episodes of the FightBox Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 1 year, and we've had over 160,000 downloads. Thank you. Thank you very much. Regardless if this is the very first time you've ever listened to the FightBox Podcast, if you listen from time to time, depending on who the guest is and which discipline they are involved in, or if you're one of the legions of FightBox Podcast faithful who download each and every week, thank you very much. Those 160,000 downloads are not all of the downloads. We also have, I cannot count how many downloads we've got on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Player.fm, and any of the other hosting services that have the FightBox Podcast. But I would think that would easily take it over 200,000 downloads, maybe 300,000. I don't know how many. But there is a minimum, I would say, of known downloads of 160,000. So that's not too shabby. So thank you for each and every one of you who download this podcast. Thank you even more if you are sharing the links on social media, on FightBox, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever you happen to be. Make sure you check us out. FightBox is online on Instagram at FightBoxHD. We are on Facebook /FightBox. We are on YouTube. The name of our channel is FightBox HD, all one word. So check us out there. It's amazing how some of these episodes have done. Some of them I thought would be a complete flop and nobody would want to listen to it, and they turned out to be really huge, popular episodes. And some of them I thought, ooh, people are going to love this episode, and then it just absolutely took a crap in the bed. And some of them did really horribly at the beginning, and then over time they just got thousands and thousands of downloads. Some of them got thousands of downloads in the first day or two, and then very slowly, it seems like they almost don't get any downloads later on. So you never know how things are going to turn out. It's been a learning experience. It's a very fun and exciting experience for me, and I look forward to 2016 and what that's going to bring, and wish each and every one of you out there a very happy, successful, productive 2016. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you back here next week, next Wednesday, right here on the FightBox Podcast for another barn burner of an episode. Until then, my name is Don Royd. So long, everybody.